You are listening to KC Sports Network, the #1 podcast network for today's Kansas City sports fans. With former players from your favorite teams, informed perspectives, and former insiders, this is the place for you. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts or on our YouTube channel, all over social media, or our morning newsletter, KCSN Daily, dedicated to your Kansas City Chiefs. KC Sports Network is proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome to this special bonus Wednesday, mid-April episode of KCSN Update. I'm BJ Kissel. That's Tucker Franklin. If you tuned in last week, we drafted we had a mock draft for the all-time Chiefs offense. We can bring that up on the screen, Tuck, with a graphic, just to recap for anybody that wasn't or didn't listen or watch that video or listen to that podcast. Tucker had the first pick, took Patrick Mahomes. We'll run down Tucker's all-time Chiefs offense from this mock draft. Patrick Mahomes, running back Jamal Charles, 3 wide receivers, Dwayne Bowe, Jeremy Maclin, Eddie Kinnison. Some interesting picks there. Tight end, Travis Kelce. And then your offensive line from left to right, Eric Fisher, Brian Waters, Tim Grunhard, Tom Condon, and Dave Hill. Whereas my team ended up with quarterback, the late, great Lenny Dawson, running back, Priest Holmes. My 3 wide receivers were Tyreek Hill, Otis Taylor, and Derek Alexander. Yeah. Not sure that's close, buddy. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
tight end, Tony Gonzalez. And then from left to right, my offensive line, the strength of my offense, I feel like, Willie Rofe, Ed Buddy, Creed Humphrey, Will Shields, and Mitch Schwartz.
Yeah.
How you feeling about how things shape up here for the defense?
Well, listen, it was a pretty consensus vote on the YouTube comments that you had me beat, and I think that I admitted that you had me beat. Got a little too far out of my skis. I picked Patrick Mahomes. I thought this was going to be a cakewalk. I thought this was going to be easy. But then I forgot about all the other positions that I have to draft as well. So feeling pretty good about the defense. We did our own research this time. So,
yeah, we didn't share. And we're doing like a proper snake draft.
Right.
So last time we just went ping pong back and forth. This time I'm getting the first pick, but then you get 2 and 3.
2, yeah.
So kind of handicapped myself a little bit because it wasn't really fair the way the teams turned out with the offense. Although you have Patrick Mahomes, I like your chances.
Fair.
But
yeah, I mean, I'm very excited about the defense. Did a little bit of research on the old the career charts for defensive statistics. Is very interesting. I was throwing out some interesting ones when we were getting started, but. I'm very excited for this one for us to get going here.
All right, let's get this going. I get the first pick this time. Not a huge surprise. My #1 overall pick, Derek Thomas.
Okay.
One of the greatest edge rushers in NFL history. One of the reasons that Arrowhead, in my opinion, has the mystique that it does, the crowd noise, all that stuff. It was born from defense. It was born from that time that Derek Thomas, Neil Smith, all those guys up front in the early Marty days, just getting after it. Don't know if there's a play, maybe Patrick Mahomes now, but I'm not sure. I don't have the information on this. I'm sure there's research out there somewhere that I would be willing to bet there are more Derek Thomas jerseys than anything else out there, except now Patrick Mahomes. I think that may have changed it, but it was such a classic jersey. I know a lot of people when they're buying jersey, not to make this a jersey thing, but you don't want to buy for a player and then he leaves.
Right.
There's a lot of people with their Tyreek Hill jerseys now that are like, what am I supposed to do with this? You turn it into a Pacheco jersey. But yeah, Derek Thomas, absolute legend. Easy #1 overall pick. So I'm going to go ahead and turn in my card.
Yeah, slot that one in. There you go. You can see it. We're going to pull up, obviously, as we go. We'll see. You guys can be able to interact and see with us. Leave your comments in the chat. We'll talk about them and your thoughts on our selection. So that means I have pick 2 and 3. So with pick number 2, possible recency bias, but I think that
the story of your team.
Yeah, that's my team. If you guys haven't figured out yet, I'm young and I don't know a whole lot historically. So I'm going to go with Chris Jones at one of the defensive tackle positions. Look, Chris Jones is a guy who is coming off the best year of his career. a guy who now has 2 Super Bowl trophies, a guy who seems like is going to be a Pro Football Hall of Famer, and be in the Ring of Honor for the Kansas City Chiefs. So I think that he's a cornerstone for this defense. When you talk about Derek Thomas, how he was for those defenses then, that's kind of Chris Jones now. And I think that he has cemented himself in terms of the all-time Chiefs greats. He even tweeted out the other day, I don't know if you saw this, he's going to win an MVP. Going to be really hard for a non-quarterback to win an MVP, but I appreciate the optimism and I appreciate the ambition from Chris Jones.
He also said after they lost to the Bengals the year before that they were going to be in the Super Bowl, and they were. So he's got a good track record.
He can manifest things with the best of them.
And he said he's going to be a Chief for life for picking apart all of his tweets. So
that is true. Listen, would love some of that news right now. If they want to go ahead and sign that contract, would love.
If you can't tell from the style of show that we're doing, we'd love any news for right now. But we appreciate you for hanging out and wasting part of your Wednesday mid-morning with us here. If you're watching live, if you're listening to the podcast after, hopefully you're not yelling and screaming at all the picks that are made.
That's true.
Tucker, I think, only likes to draft guys that he's personally watched play, and then he panics and then just Googles somebody and picks them. Seems to what happened in the offensive side.
Yeah, the offensive line got a little tough, especially after you picked Willie Roaf. I was like, oh, crap, who am I supposed to pick now? But no, I think that I did a little bit more research for this one. So my second pick, we had talked about this a little bit before we were going. Because I had 2 picks in a row, I could map out my picks because I knew who you were going with number 1, and there's a few that I could go with the second pick here. It depends on how I want to build my team around here.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna go with Bobby Bell, a pick that goes outside of where I usually go. But Bobby Bell, man, you talk about a guy who was mean, fierce. I'm looking at the stats. I had the defense.
I did not see that one coming. I'm not gonna lie to you. He is on my list. Where do you have him playing?
So I have him at linebacker.
Okay.
That's where I've got him at. I don't have him at end. I know that they kind of changed the defense around a little bit there in that time period. But
a lot of guys played a lot of different positions, but he was very versatile. Kind of reinvented the 3-4 outside linebacker position in a lot of ways with what they did defensively.
So Bobby Bell, 13th in franchise history in sacks. When you talk about tackles, solo tackles, I think he's up there too with the best of them. So he's a guy that historically is a very, very prominent figure in the Chiefs, with the Chiefs now and the Chiefs then. So Bobby Bell, I'm very happy with that.
He'll steal your quarters. Anybody who's listening knows he's infamous.
He tried to get me to give him a quarter during the golf tournament.
He'll take it from you.
Yeah.
His hands are so quick. You can look it up. He did it with Marcus Peters, and Marcus Peters lost his mind. He had no idea that it was great. You can go find that on social media or YouTube somewhere, I'm sure. He's done it to a lot of people. But man, that was a shocking one. You did do some research.
I did
this time. I did not expect a Bobby Bell from the young Tucker Franklin. So let me put that in here. We're good. So we're all update there. So I've got the next 2 picks. You went Chris Jones, Bobby Bell. I started with Derek Thomas. My next pick, I'm going to put him at D tackle, Buck Buchanan. You don't know him, kids? Look him up.
I found him.
Absolutely. Is he on your list too?
No.
So I'm going to go ahead and put him in here with the number 4 overall pick on the defensive draft for the Chiefs, Buck Buchanan. You get him and Derek Thomas on that defensive line so far. I'm loving where I'm at right now. And I'm going to, with my next pick, this is not recency bias. I want to take him early because I'm scared that you're going to take him, and I'm not going to let it happen. And that's Derek Johnson.
Oh,
I am taking Derek Johnson to play behind Derek Thomas and Buck Buchanan to round out the defense. So I know you're panicking. You have to do some more research on some other linebackers right now.
Crap.
But Derek Johnson with number 5 overall pick in the Chiefs defensive mock draft. I really like my defense so far, Tuck.
Yeah.
You better make a couple of good picks here because
that was a good one. So my idea was to go Bobby Bell and Derek Johnson as linebackers, and that would have been pretty strong. But I'm still going to stick at the linebacker position. I'm going Willie Lanier. So I've got Bobby Bell, Willie Lanier as my 2 linebackers.
It was between those 2 for me. I was going to take Willie Lanier.
Yep.
Because dominant All-Pro Hall of Fame player, but I was like, Tucker's not going to take Willie Lanier. I'm taking Derek Johnson first.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly probably would have taken Derek Johnson before Willie Lanier. But, I mean, again, you look at the stats. He's a guy that's always up there when you look at any defensive category. Willie Lanier's up there. Historically, very good Kansas City Chief. And, that's a great pick. Salty linebacker room right there that I got. Pick. Chris Jones, Bobby Bell, Willie Lanier.
All right, next.
I gotta make some choices here.
Yeah.
And I think I'm gonna go back to the defensive line. I'm going to go with Neil Smith at the edge position. I'm going to go Neil Smith, another guy that Kent almost killed at the golf tournament. Hit a drive, blind drive, and Neil Smith was not very stoked.
He had his hands. He came around the corner with his hands up, and I looked at Kent. I was like, I think he just almost hit Neil Smith. This is going to be great when we catch up to him at the next hole.
Yeah, that's the biggest memory I have of Neil Smith, because obviously I wasn't too old when he was playing. Yeah. But I do think that, historically looking at the charts again, very high up there on pretty much every defensive statistical category. So Neil Smith as my edge rusher. Man,
that's pretty good.
I'm happy with it.
You're doing pretty well, sir.
Gonna update my list.
I got some decisions to make. I did not see you coming with the old school. Bobby Bell and Willie Lanier threw me off. All right.
Keep on your toes.
You are keeping me on my toes right now. So, all right. For my next one, another recent player, somebody that I covered. I'm going to go edge rusher Justin Houston. That's on the outside.
That's a good one.
Edge rusher. The Chiefs have had a very good group of edge rushers during their time. There's a lot of guys to choose from. Mm-hmm. So the fact that we're not doing depth, we're only doing 2 edge rushers, there's going to be good guys that don't even get selected on this. So with my fourth pick, taking Justin Houston. And with my 5th pick, staying along the defensive line and just rounding out just a boss group up front is Curly Culp. Yeah.
Okay.
I know he's going to be on your list based on the research that you're already doing, but you put Curly Culp and Buck Buchanan next to each other with Derek Thomas and Justin Houston, Derek Johnson behind them. Ooh. Really liking my front 7 the way that it's stacking up right now, Todd.
Yeah, your defensive line is very salty. Buck Buchanan, another one of those guys where you look at those like all-time just like defensive lists, like he's all over them. Curly Culp, another guy, and kind of in that same regard. That's the Justin Houston, Derek Thomas edge combo right there is good. I had Justin Houston on my list. I believe I told you he's second in Chiefs history, or maybe first in Chiefs history in tackles for loss. So he is. Yes, he is. That's Tom Bahali is first, but Justin Houston is third in tackles for loss. Still incredible. You have 2 of the top 3 in tackles for loss in Chiefs history on your defensive line. That'll play. So going with my next 2 picks, I'm thinking maybe I might round out the defensive line. Might dip into the safety cornerback room. But I think I'm going to go defensive end edge, and I'm going to go with Tom Bahali. I'm going to go ahead and do that. We've seen Tom Bahali in the news recently, working with George Karlaftis, doing some – I'm not sure what kind of martial arts they're doing, but they're doing martial arts of some sort.
Yeah.
And they're working on pass rush moves. A guy that you want George Karlaftis to be working with is a guy, as I mentioned, the all-time leader in tackles for loss for the Kansas City Chiefs. So very happy with Tom Bahali there. That gives my 2 edge rushers as Tom Bahali and Neil Smith. That's pretty good.
Not bad.
That's pretty good. And then I'm going to go D tackle. I'm going to go Bill Moss for the defensive tackle position. That means both of us are out of defensive linemen. We're going to be fighting over the secondary now. That's what it's going to come down to.
Can I bring up a strategy thing here since you've already done it?
Go ahead.
I've already drafted those positions. So you could have taken your top picks at defensive back and corner.
That's true.
And I can't take Tamba. I couldn't take
That's true.
Bill Moss.
Shit. Yeah.
All right. Let's you know what? This is a good time to take a break. You can compose yourself onto the strategy session here, and we'll be right back with our all-time Chiefs defensive mock draft right after this.
Folks, I got to tell you about today's sponsor, and that is Athletic Greens. I've been taking AG1 by Athletic Greens literally every day, and I gave it a try because I wanted to get that better gut health. I wanted to have the sustained energy. You got to support the immune system, especially this time of the year. And I hated taking all those pills and vitamins to actually get all those supplements, and it tastes great as well. I take it in the morning before I start my day, before I make that cup of coffee, and it makes me feel ready to take on everything that we've got going on here at KCSN. And all great athletes take care of their body. I'm not the same kind of athlete as Patrick Mahomes, but I still like to take care of my body, and that's when I've been going to AG1. That's why I'm a huge fan. You get all that nutrition in just one little cup. It's great for long-term gut health support as well, with just 75 high-quality ingredients that give me key daily nutrients. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplemental routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/KCSN. That's athleticgreens.com/KCSN. Check it out.
For anybody watching on YouTube, you can see the highlights of your quarterback running around out there.
That's true.
It's Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it is up to my pick. And so for my defense, as you can see up on the screen, we'll bring it up. I've got Derek Thomas, Buck Buchanan, Curly Cole, Justin Houston, Derek Johnson. Now I'm going to go for the defensive backs. And I'm going to start with safety Emmett Thomas, somebody that I covered when he was a defensive backs coach for the Chiefs. Great dude, great with the players, great relationship person, and then absolute stud out of Bishop College. Pro Football Hall of Famer, absolute legend in the game of football in so many different ways, both as a player and as a coach. I've been coaching for 40 plus years, if not more than that. He's 50 plus years. His amount of time he spent in the NFL as a player and coach, absolutely unbelievable and a fun dude to talk to. So I'm going with Emmett Thomas at safety for my first pick here. And then my second one is I followed up going with cornerback, and I'm going to go with Albert Lewis.
Okay.
He and that defense back in the day when I was growing up watching, they were studs, absolute studs. So I'm going with Albert Lewis at cornerback for my next pick. So I know who you're going to take here.
Yeah,
I have a really good feeling I know who you're going to take.
Yeah, originally I tipped this pick to you when I was going to go number 2, but then I think I had to throw you a curveball with old Willie Lanier. I'm going with safety out of the University of Tennessee, Eric Berry, one of my all-time favorite players. I think that Eric Berry is the story itself is great for Eric Berry, but just the way he played, the way everything, I just love everything about Eric Berry. So I think that going safety there. Now, another caveat that we're doing with this is you can either pick if you want, because you can see there you have safety cornerback, or you can pick either if you want to do 2 safeties, or I believe it'd be 3 cornerbacks. So that's what we're doing here. Yes, Clinton is right. He can definitely sneak both corners from the 90s. Although,
don't worry about it. Don't change your strategy. I shouldn't have brought that comment up. Don't worry about it.
I saw it, and
you don't know who he's talking about.
This guy's
you
on
don't
my
have time to Google it.
You're right. This guy's on my list, and we had talked about him.
No, we hadn't. You know what? Who's your second pick? We're done. I'm done giving you.
No. I'm thinking about who I want to do as a second pick. I think I'm going to make this the safety cornerback, the flex position. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going Deron Cherry.
Okay.
At safety cornerback. So
it's a great pick.
It is a strong pick, if I can say so myself. A guy who is, again, all over the all-time charts. A guy who played a lot for the Kansas City Chiefs, 3rd all-time in interceptions in Chiefs franchise history. Emmett Thomas, the guy that you have, is number 1 with 58, just 8 ahead of Deron Cherry. So I'm happy with the safety position that I got there. So,
all right. So my turn.
It's your turn.
Pretty happy with the way this turned out. So let me make sure I'm not forgetting somebody here. All right, we already have Emmett Thomas. Other safety, going with Johnny Robinson.
Okay.
Hall of Famer.
Admittedly, not on my list. I don't know if that surprises you, but
that doesn't surprise me. And then cornerback, playing next to Albert Lewis for all those years, best cornerback tandem, Kevin Ross. That was the guy I thought you were going to take. I'm taking Kevin Ross right now, calling it good. Chance right there for, you know what, I'm not going to give you a hint on another player. There's a really good cornerback that I don't think is going to end up getting selected. No, it's not Darrelle Revis for anybody who's listening. Remember, the way that we're doing this, for anyone who's out there wondering what the strategy behind this is kind of know that players today are just more athletic. They're bigger, they're stronger.
Yeah.
This is like relative to how dominant they were within their era. So like at their best, what they would bring to the field, obviously, as we're going across eras. So that's kind of the strategy behind it for anybody who's overthinking this like I do. So,
all right. Let me throw back up the picks here. I've got a couple cornerbacks left and a safety. I've got 2 picks, and I'm going to go double corner here. I'm just going to give you both of them right off the top.
All right.
These are definitely recency bias picks. Shocker.
Marcus Peters is one of them.
Marcus Peters is one of them, and then Brandon Flowers is the other one.
Okay.
So I again, 2 cornerbacks that I kind of grew up watching, and 2 cornerbacks that I always enjoyed to watch play. Marcus Peters and Brandon Flowers. I feel pretty good about that secondary.
Yeah. So yeah, my issue that my safety, that's a solid, it's a good pick. The one player, and he's not safety, so you can bring it up now. Dale Carter is one guy that I was thinking about taking. Doesn't really fit the slot corner because I know who I want in that role. Somebody that I covered, somebody that I have a lot of respect for and spent a lot of time around, who can play slot, can play corner. The Honey Badger, you can move him around, put him in different spots. So I'm putting Tyrann Mathieu as my kind of tweener guy. Oh, you forgot about him?
No, I thought I was going to be able to sneak him in there because I thought that you were going to be so focused. Just
like that was going to be your other safety? Yeah, and you can't take Dale Carter, so you're going to – there are 2 safeties I grew up watching that shock me if they don't end up on this list.
There's no chance
somewhere.
that I know them.
You take Sorensen, it'll be fine.
Right, I was going to say, what if I sneak Dan Sorensen in here? I believe he's top 20. What did I tell you? He's top 20 in tackles in Chiefs history. I mean,
not surprising. I say that like
tackle machine, man.
Dan Sorensen is part of like some of the biggest plays to get the Chiefs. Like the Houston Texans comeback, like doesn't happen without Daniel Sorensen. So
absolutely.
Care if he blew a few coverages at some point. Like we won a Super Bowl because of that guy.
Okay, this is my last pick, right?
I get another pick.
Right.
Well, it doesn't matter because you're not taking a linebacker.
And right. I'm taking a safety.
What safety are you taking now that Tyrann Mathieu's off the board?
Well, I'm trying to figure that out right now. That's a really great question, BJ. I've got to see who you picked too.
Let me give you some options.
No. I don't want you to. Okay, I know who.
Is the comment section going to help?
No. Dale Carter or on list or list is null and void. Yeah, that is one name that I did see doing my research. I was going to go with no chance I'm going to go with that guy. All right, fine. Maybe you do need to give me some options here.
You have Jerome Woods, Greg Wesley, fun players to watch.
Right.
During that time. They're not bad players.
Yeah.
It's probably recency bias for me just because they're the guys that I grew up watching play. But I didn't have any other safeties on my list here. I didn't have a lot of players listed because I just went with like players I didn't think you'd ever heard of.
Right. Yeah. I probably
let alone draft in this.
I probably should have put Deron Cherry at my that not the flex position. That probably would have been better for me. But again, we've seen me in this draft not have very good strategy. So let's go with Greg Wesley. I'll go with him. He is 6th all time in solo tackles in Chiefs history.
I spelled that right.
From 2000 to 2007, he played. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So to round out your defense, I have one. I'll finish my last pick. Linebacker next to Derek Johnson. I really wanted Willie Lanier and even Bobby Bell. Put those guys next to each other. I don't. So I'm not going to go with the Chiefs' all-time leading tackler because I already have him at Derek Johnson. I'm going to go with the guy who finished 2nd all-time leading tackler, had 999 career tackles, something I asked him about often as he still works with the Chiefs, also a former K-Stater and All-American. And I believe his daughter is married to the offensive coordinator for Kansas State and Colin Klein. And that would be Mr. Gary Spaney.
That was a tangled web right there.
There's a lot of connections. There's a lot of connections to Gary Spaney. Phenomenal person. I had a chance to spend some time with him, working with him a little bit. When he was at the Chiefs, does a lot of great things for them. But all fine player. I always asked him because he had 999 career tackles. I'm like, don't you think you could tell them, like the stat people, to go back and be like, hey, give him a credit for one tackle in one random game in a week 3, 40 years ago. And he's like, he never told me the story because I personally like being at 999. And then he goes, I'm going to keep it to myself. Why? I was like, you almost there, and you got to keep pushing yourself. And he just kind of smiled and walked off.
Wow. I did not know who that was. Again, not probably a big shocker. A comment section is upset that there is no Dale Carter on this list.
Yeah.
Antonio Griffin, no Dale Carter is egregious.
Well, then let us know. Like, is it more egregious that Marcus Peters and Brandon Flowers are on this list, or that it's Albert Lewis and Kevin Ross? Because Albert Lewis and Kevin Ross were like the best tandem in football, and I like the fact that there's some familiarity there. But as somebody who watched Dale Carter, completely understand why people would be upset that he's not on there. Dan Salimua, another player who's not on this list, that people would have every right to be upset about the fact that he's not on there. Art Still not on this list.
Right.
Another player that every right. Frank Clark. Honestly, but then Jared Allen is not on this list either. Right. So there's some really good players in Chiefs history, especially on the defense. It seems like defense was a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
A lot more difficult than the offensive side was because of all the players. But yeah, let's look at some matchups here. Actually, you know what? Let's take another break here real fast. We'll come right back. Let us know in the comment section during this break who we may have missed, who's egregious besides Dale Carter. I just mentioned a couple other players. Let us know who you think we missed in this all-time draft, and then we'll have a little debate on who we think would win a game between these two and what kind of strategy that you'd have in this game. So we'll be right back after this.
Whether you're a Chiefs, Royals, Sporting KC, KC Current, K-State, KU, or Mizzou fan, we've got you covered. Thanks for watching this production of KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? This is BJ Kissel, founder and CEO of KC Sports Network. With Kansas City on full display for the NFL Draft, what better way to celebrate our hometown than by supporting a charity that helps kids with special needs in our own backyard? Children's Center for the Visually Impaired will host the CCVI Trolley Run Sunday, April 30th to change the lives of students who are blind or have low vision. Now in its 35th year, the CCVI Trolley Run is a 4-mile race that finishes on the Country Club Plaza the Sunday after the NFL Draft. This fundraiser is open to everyone and no athletic ability is required. Enjoy free beer after the race and snacks from local restaurants. We promise the KC community will be on full display. Visit trolleyrun.org and use code KCSN to get a few extra bucks off your registration. That's trolleyrun.org.
All right, welcome back to all-time Chiefs mock draft. I'm BJ Kissel hanging out with Tucker Franklin. We appreciate this random show that we're doing on a random Wednesday when there's not a lot of Chiefs news going on. So we're trying to have some fun and stay engaged with the team. And honestly, we're just trying to teach Tucker some history about the Chiefs here. His history goes back to maybe the very end of the Scott Pioli, Todd Haley days. And every other player that he's picked, he Googled this morning as he was looking at who had the most tackles, the most sacks, the most this and that. And going through, I've seen a couple of comments on here about some players. Tyson Jackson, Kathy Welch. That would be a Tucker-like pick. A lot of defensive linemen didn't get picked. But going back to some of the players that played back in the day that weren't picked, but you look at their all-pro, their Pro Bowl numbers, guys like Cheryl Hedrick, linebacker, E.J. Holub, linebacker / center, played both. Some really, really good players. There was one other player. I can't think. I can't find him. Another player. I was like, you know what? That guy probably should have been drafted in this. Mel Branch, Dave Grayson, some of those players that I obviously never watched play. You never watched play.
Right.
But looking back at their history, you got to respect what they did for the organization and the success they had in their era.
Comment section says James Hasty.
Ooh, that's a very good one.
James Hasty. Shout out to, Antonio Griffin brought that up. Puxico Ice also brought that up. Patrick Mahler wants us to watch Jawan Taylor's newest workout video. Maybe I'll get to it. Who knows? But Dale Carter over Flowers. Brandon Flowers was probably a pick personally that I liked more than a lot of other people did, which is fair. It is my team. But thank you to Kathy Welch for saying that we did great. She said so many great players. We did great.
You brought up this morning if we were going to do specialists.
Oh yeah.
So we don't have to necessarily do like the ping pong draft, but talk about some of the guys that you brought up. Who is going to be your kick returner?
Tyreek Hill.
Who's going to be your
no? The kick returner is D'Anthony Thomas.
Yeah, and your punt returner was Tyreek Hill. Yeah,
long snapper Kendall Gammon.
Who is going to be your kicker?
That's a good one. Probably Harrison Butker.
Yeah. So I'll take Jan Stenerud. We can just do the draft right now because I would take completely different people anyway. So I'll take Jan Stenerud. My punt returner is going to be Dante Hall. My kick returner is going to be Tamark Vanover, which you had never heard of.
No.
Remember, this is prime. This is not career. This is at their prime, what they did. Tamark Vanover was the first. I should say first. He was the guy that I remember going to, and every time he touched the ball, you held your breath. He was the Tyreek Hill of kick returners before that. With the success that he had. And my long snapper, I'm going to go with James Winchester because he stole my guy, Kendall. And then my punter, I'm going to go with Dustin Colquitt.
I didn't pick a punter. Yeah, it's true. I think it's pretty much given.
The D'Anthony Thomas one got me. Like, Tyreek is a punt returner. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what D'Anthony one got me just because you don't know who Tamark Vanover is, but Dante Hall. Come on.
Abner Hayes, I guess, was also a really good returner when I was doing research. He had scored a few of the old I think punt return is what he was listed at. But again, that's in the 1960s. I wasn't even a thought then. So I don't know. Is there film on those games from the 60s? Do you think you could like go back and like watch an NFL game from the 60s?
I don't think so.
I'm curious.
It's like the broadcast. Like they don't even have some of the full broadcast. I think it was about like Super Bowl I.
Yeah.
Like it was like one person found it like their basement or something. Like it's like there's not a lot of footage of these games. So you're not going to get like all 22 on like NFL Plus to go back and watch like Super Bowl IV and break down these players.
If it's the NFL, well, I shouldn't say if the NFL is smart. They are. They should find the film of those and put it on NFL Plus. Be like, hey, you can watch it on NFL Plus. I wonder how many people will be like, okay, yeah, we'll go.
I think if they had it, they probably would have done that by now. Especially this time of the year.
That's a good point.
It's like somebody finds something for us to talk about. All right, let's bring up the rosters and let us know which team you think would win. So let's bring these up, run these down real quick for anybody listening via audio. But here are the teams. Tucker's offense: Patrick Mahomes, Jamal Charles, Dwayne Bowe, Jeremy Maclin, Eddie Kinnison, Travis Kelce, Eric Fisher, Brian Waters, Tim Grunhard, Tom Condon, and Dave Hill. And that offense is going up against, let's say, my defense of Derek Thomas, Buck Buchanan, Curly Culp, Justin Houston, Derek Johnson, Gary Spaney, Tyrann Mathieu, Emmett Thomas, Johnny Robinson, Albert Lewis, Kevin Ross.
I think I'm in trouble.
I don't think you're going to do great.
That defensive line against my offensive line is a disaster.
Not saying Tom Condon and Dave Hill aren't solid players, but they're blocking Derek Thomas and Buck Buchanan.
It's going to be a tough
They're going on that side.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one.
And but you've got Patrick Mahomes. He's an escape artist, but I'm not sure he can escape on all-encompassing. I mean, you got Justin Houston on the other side.
Justin Houston, Derek Thomas. What was it? 2 of the top 3 in tackles for loss in franchise history, right there. So guys who are good at bringing down players behind the line of scrimmage.
Got a comment here. I'm gonna bring it up from Joshua Zilstra. It brings up completely not related to any of this. Kicker should be. Do you know Lynn? Do you know who he's talking about? Joel, do you know who he's talking about? We got Joel Presteel producing this thing behind the scenes, runs our social media, does a great job. Do you know who the kicker is, Lynn? Lynn Elliott. Yep. Used to be known back in the Arrowhead Pride days, back in the day. It was a community. It was known as the kicker that shall not be named because we had lost more consecutive playoff games than any other team in NFL history. And so we would never write or say his name. And if somebody did, they got like banned. They got like kicked off for not banned. They got kicked off for a day or something. Or just put in like blog timeout. But my question is, see, Antonio knows the kicker who shall not be named. Can we name him now that we've got success? We're in the middle of a dynasty. We won 2 Super Bowls. Maybe they can bring him back and do something. I don't know.
They need something like, you know what they did in like Ted Lasso, where they thought the training room was cursed and they did something like that. They could do something like,
just bring him back. Like, we forgive you now. Like, everybody's happy.
Fine.
We won some games. Like, we won some Super Bowls. The curse is broken. Exactly, Antonio.
Thank you, Antonio.
You can bring him back, and there's no reason to be super upset with him. It's like if the Bills ever win anything, then you bring like Scott Norwood back. You don't get that reference either, Tucker.
I watched the Four Falls of Buffalo.
Okay.
I watched that 30 for 30.
That's how you know. No, man. All right, let's go to the other side and see how my offense would do against your defense.
Yeah.
And so my offense, quarterback Len Dawson, running back Priest Holmes, my wide receivers, Tyreek Hill, Otis Taylor, and Derek Alexander, tight end Tony Gonzalez, and then my offensive line, Willie Rofe, Ed Buddy, Creed Humphrey, Will Shields, and Mitch Schwartz.
Yeah.
They're going up against your defense of Neil Smith and Tamba Ali coming off the edge. Pretty good, although my offensive line.
Yeah, your offensive line is pretty strong. So, like, I've got a good defensive line, but, like, it's going up pretty
So you've got Neil
solid.
Smith going up against Willie Rofe.
Yeah.
Legends battling it out. Okay,
Tamba Ali
Stallmate.
gets Mitch Schwartz.
Two legends battling it out.
They play at the same time. They overlap just a little bit.
Yes, it would have overlapped for a couple of years at the very end of Tamba's time.
Mm.
That's when like Tamba wasn't practicing.
Right.
I think he was the only player, and I could be wrong about this off the top of my head, but I believe he would be the only player that I can recall during Andy Reid's tenure that like wouldn't practice all week, like even Friday, and then he'd go and play. And, like it was like listen, it's like did not practice, not even like questionable, and then he plays every time because he was doing so much to get his body ready. You were talking about him working out with George Karlaftis earlier. He would do so much to get his body ready to play towards the end of his career. He's got such a phenomenal. They should do a 30 for 30 on Tamba Ali and is getting his family over and like his story of growing up and coming over and like 7-8 years old, like leaving like where he grew up over in Africa. I'm going to forget everything. I don't have all the details in front of me, but I remember talking to him about it. And then Clark Hunt and Lamar Hunt, the Chiefs organization, is helping his family like come over and getting politicians involved. Like there's a cool story there that I remember writing about, but I think more people should know about that. But how do you think your defense would fare against my offense?
Yeah, the secondary is where maybe the Brandon. I didn't know we were going 1-for-1 on this. If I was trying to defend your,
how else do you think they're going to cover him?
I don't know. No, I'm saying I didn't know that I was trying to pick players to go against Otis Taylor, Derek Alexander, Tony Gonzalez, and Tyreek Hill. But
yeah, you've got
I think
Marcus Peters to cover Tyreek Hill.
Right. Yes, I have Eric Berry to cover Tony Gonzalez. I guess I think it's fine. I think my secondary is all right. It's my defense against your offense is not as much as a slam dunk as your defense against my offense.
I still think my team boat races yours.
Yeah, my defense makes it a competition.
Your linebackers, Bobby Bell and Willie Lanier, could set the tone. Like I think Priest Holmes,
It narrowed the gap a little bit. It's like,
Holmes is going to struggle, but again, my offensive line.
have you ever seen that meme that's like it says like Chris Paul hits a 3 to cut the lead to 31 or something like that. It's basically what I just did right there with the defense. I hit a 3 to cut the lead to 31.
I think it's interesting that Tyreek Hill is my wide receiver, but he's your punt returner.
He was a specialist. Remember his first Pro Bowl? He's a specialist. Who was it that didn't let him forget that? Maybe it's Jalen Ramsey, actually, I think.
Yeah, they called him a gadget player.
Called him a specialist, yeah.
Yep. That probably fueled him. Probably a lot of where the success came from.
Look at him now. Now he's the highest paid. Is he the highest paid wide receiver?
Yeah.
Scheduled to be. And he's going to retire after this contract is up with the Dolphins, what he said. So we'll see.
Always headlines whenever he does anything. It's almost like.
Yeah, people really care about what he does.
Well, it's every time he opens his mouth, he does something that Chiefs fans are going to get upset about. It's almost like it's intentional.
Okay, the thing about
Very
what he was saying about
with
like
the
I'm
places
going
that
to
he's
throw the
going
peace
and
sign.
things that he's saying. It's okay.
He's doing what he's doing. He can do his thing. It's fine. I'm not upset at Tyreek Hill. Never was.
No.
But I get it. He's got to support his quarterback. He's got to support the team that he's on.
Yeah, I don't care. Like, it's a bad thing. I'm just
No.
saying it's interesting.
No, people, yeah.
Every time he's got a podcast, every time he goes on something, it's talking about Kansas City or something related to it. His last one, it was in Kansas City.
It was.
So
It was
makes
some guys he played with. So, I mean, they were talking about their matchup this year.
It's cool. It was a cool conversation. I listened to part of it.
Chiefs, by the way, Chiefs' schedule this year, home schedule, absolutely stacked. I think they have the Dolphins at home. They've got the Bengals at home, the Bills at home, I want to say. And like they've got some like really good matchups. So if you're a season ticket holder, this is the year to get season tickets.
Yeah.
If you want to, if you've ever thought about it, dabbled in it, this year do it. There's some pretty solid matchups.
Love it. All right. Let us know in the comment section. Let us know on social media. Bring up that roster one last time. And maybe we'll pretty this up and put it out on social media as like a nice graphic and let people know that they can vote on it. You don't want to do that too, because
we'll see.
A, you're going to be one making the graphic, and B, I think we know what social media is going to say.
I'll tweak the teams a bit when I'm making it.
All right. We appreciate everybody for hanging out, whether you're listening live or listening after the fact. We know we're trying to get creative here with some content. Hopefully we got some more news, but we have a ton of great draft content, and we have some news coming out. Actually, it's 11 o'clock. It's coming out right now. So if you're watching live, go check out our social media channels. We have got a new series with Marlia Campbell detailing how the NFL draft came to Kansas City, and behind the scenes interviews with Kathy Nelson, with Quentin Lucas, and Greg Graves, former chairman and CEO of Burns and McDonnell. Marley did an absolute phenomenal job. It's a 5-part mini series on a new KCSN storytelling channel. And so for anyone who's watching this live, you are finding out right before or as everybody else is, as Joel is producing the show and hitting go on social media on all this stuff. But go check out that series. The episodes are about 12 to 15 minutes long each. And Marlia is kind of narrating. It's kind of like listening to an audiobook. But you'll learn that the process for getting the NFL draft started even before Patrick Mahomes was the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. So phenomenal job by Marlia. Excited to announce that. We've got more things to announce over the next week, working on finalizing those things. But appreciate everybody for hanging out and watching. And we will see you all later.